it safe to fall asleep? Is it safe to dream? Eyes open to all these weird things. Alice knew what she had to do. Keep calm and journey on. A splendid time it could be, taking the high road blissfully. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Hectic white rabbit racing against the clock, but Alice had another thought. She knew she ruled the plot, so she ate this and drank that. Was simple as tit for tat. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. A caterpillar smoke rings, he really thought he knew things. Two sides to the same thing, blowing smoke rings, cool and cryptic, but Alice didn't miss it. Big or small, Alice would not fall. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Floating smiles disappearing, sitting in a tree, smiling constantly. A type of madness with clarity, as the Cheshire Cat kept grinning. Alice took what she could and headed back into the woods. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Mad Hatter tea party with dormers and hair, they could have lost their minds anywhere, but it was neither here nor there, for Alice really didn't care. Tea time with madmen, a swamp of thoughts. Alice got up and walked off. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Unbothered so far, the Queen of Hearts with her guards. You're nothing but a pack of cards. You can paint the roses red and be off with their heads, but I'm still asleep in my bed. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Alice remained unbothered, you see, for she knew it was all just a dream.
All right, folks. Hold on one second. All right, folks. Click over to Tony real quick. Running a little bit behind today. Running a little bit behind. All right. There we go. Now we're ready. Let me get me up. All right. So welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner. This is PRT. Join us in the real reality. You know the spiel here. Mm-hmm. Thanks. Got a lot of stuff. We're doing some stuff up here in the office. A lot to do. Well, I want to get right into it tonight. I don't want to waste a lot of time on the prelims here. We talk and get ourselves situated. And tonight, want to get started, but looking at the chat here and let some people get in here real quick, You want to say hi?
There we go. My mic's on now. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Got a little bit of a late start, but better late than never.
Yeah, I mean, it's about when we start,
Yeah.
So what do I have to tell you guys? I guess tonight is the eve of my birthday. I guess at midnight.
Mm-hmm.
At midnight tonight, I will be 25. It's exciting to be a quarter century.
Everyone knows
You don't look a day over 24.
I know. It's amazing.
You're old. Yeah, you're 25.
Yeah, 25. You're old.
I'm a teenager. Everything over 23 is old.
What does this person say? Bailey Day says, Wolf, my G, you're a sick guy from London. God bless Texas, my bro. I stay up for this. That's awesome. I'm glad you stay up. I'm sorry that we get a late start, Sometimes it just happens. But I saw Jason Finch saying that his birthday's coming up. What's up, Ken Christian?
Oh, yes, the Finchster.
His is on the 15th. So my birthday is, so because we have to do the show tomorrow, and that's my birthday tomorrow, technically is officially my birthday. I guess I turn tonight at midnight. I turn half a century.
Mm-hmm.
All joking aside. So yeah, and then I'm gonna be the big 5-0. Julie Kuhn says hers is on the 16th, so we got a bunch of babies in here. Bunch of July babies. So that's fine. So what we got tonight, we have a show like always. We have a great show planned, and hopefully it'll come out the way. I did a lot of work on this one. So this is a testament to how important it is to formulate. If you are an aspiring YouTuber, or if you are an aspiring podcaster, which there are a million of them now, okay? And every time I turn around, somebody's like, yeah, I'm thinking about starting a podcast. I'm like, of course you are.
Good luck.
Sure you. Everybody's a podcaster now. It used to be like, hey, I have a podcast. And, it's like, oh, really? Now it's just like, oh, yeah, everybody's got one. Like everyone has an opinion.
You too, huh?
And everyone puts it out there.
I'm starting a podcast about podcasts.
Yeah, well, you could do that.
Yeah.
There are people who actually have shows that just talk about people's shows. Yeah. And then some people build channels just so they control and attack and whatever, mess with people, But we're not going to talk about any of that on here tonight. We got things to do. This is a show that has. So if anybody watched the episode with Barb Hartman, we did it on Friday. And me and Barbara chopped it up on Friday. We had a good session. It was a good interview. I enjoyed it. We don't have
It was fun
discussions. Yeah, it was a fun discussion. And we had a lot of great conversation there. Bigfoot, all about Bigfoot in the Northwest. You need to check it out. And we covered a lot of different topics, and it was a very humorous episode. Yeah. Everybody knows I love my humor, my comedy. So I get somebody messaging me saying, "You play too much." Like literally complaining. They're like
play around too much?
Yeah, that we joke too much. It's like there's too much comedy. And I was like, dude,
too bad.
That's part of it, dude. I mean, you're gonna get the paranormal, you're gonna get the stories, you're gonna get whatever.
Actually, let's change the whole formula of the show for one stranger. That's a good idea.
So they just read me the riot act, and I was like, wow. And then they're like, I have officially unsubscribed. If I want a comedian, I'll go to another channel where they do comedy.
Oh no. Anyways,
so for 3 days now, I've been trying to get this person to come back. I'm kidding.
Been begging.
No, because it's only been 2.
Crawling on your virtual hands and knees.
So I was like, right after the show too, they made that. They messaged me, and I was like, wow. So to that person, I'm just going to say this: no, I'm not going to stop. Won't stop. Can't stop.
Yeah,
it's never going to stop. I'm always going to be a comedian because that's what I like to do. I like to mess with people. with the comedy and everything. I don't mean like troll, like the I'm talking about mess with people like you guys, like just having fun, throw you curveballs and stuff.
Mhm.
It's just how it is, man.
I
It's
mean,
just, it's just in my nature.
I'll say it like this: it's a scary topic. You need moments of brevity between it because there's a lot of unfortunately horrible things that have happened to people. And if you just talked about that the entire time, I think it would be a mistake, if I had to be honest.
Plus, a lot of the people watching that, they have their own experiences similar to what's being
they
told.
don't need to be reminded about how horrible it was, So I think the way we do it is one of the best because we're able to talk about these things seriously, but then also have a couple moments of where, we have fun.
Yeah, and the first thing that happened after the show was Barb messaged me and said I had a blast. It was a fun interview. People usually do have a good time. So let's get serious for a minute here. All joking aside, the guy that was supposed to be on tonight, we had a guy that was going to come on and talk. He was a priest for 10 years.
Mhm.
And then he left the priesthood because he decided he really liked women. I mean, it's his own words. He's like,
Yeah.
I couldn't, and so
Couldn't
now
buy
he's
it honestly.
married to a really nice lady, and we've worked with these people for several months now. I mean, and my business partner knew this guy for years and years, and he used to do patrol for us. I knew who he was, but I didn't really interact with him much.
Yeah.
He was on a patrol route that it wasn't my thing. And it was subcontracted to another guy who's a friend of mine that I worked with at another company. So he worked under him. So I didn't really deal with him much. That wasn't my end of the company because the way we divided it was like, I take this part, you take this part, because it's a massive undertaking. When you have over 100 accounts, at that time we had like 105 accounts. So if you have that many accounts, one person is like, it was my idea too. I was like, this is the Roman Empire, and I was like, we have to make a decision here. I mean, like so I got the idea. I was like, there's the Eastern Roman Empire and a Western Roman Empire, and they were basically allies that would go to war for one another and do everything, help each other in times of need. So you're pretty much safe, if you do that. But I had my side, he had his side. So that's what me and Marty did. We basically, just said, I'll do this part, you do this part. And we would, you need some help, whatever. And it worked really well. It's been very successful. We did that like 12 years ago. And it's been very successful. So the first almost 7 years, we were just, you do this, you do that. And finally I just said, this is too much. It's kind of getting like that with the show now too, because with the stories. So here's what happened. I didn't even know this, but I had a file and I called it Tiger Attacks, but I misspelled tiger. I spelled it tigre, which is actually Spanish. Though.
Yeah. Tigre.
Right? Tigre. So I was like tigre because I probably did it real quick, and so I threw a couple of them in there and I looked at it and they weren't like, it was just people saying, hey, there were tigers that were running around loose in Oklahoma. A person sent me a story saying they saw one stand on its hind legs. That was pretty freaky, right? And it was in that area that Tex likes to go and research. So it was just like Brown Springs,
Mhm.
right? So I find out that there's a lot of tigers in that area of Oklahoma and in North Texas. And apparently there are more tigers in Texas than anywhere other than India.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are they're having them as pets. So you could be running around in the woods. People are like, I go out in the woods all the time, ain't nothing happened. But yeah, you do. And then one day a tiger judge. So apparently tigers really do consider us prey. They look at humans as prey. So everybody's familiar with the story of Ghosts in the Darkness, right? That happened in a place in Africa. And it was called Savo, and literally the guy that had happened that wrote the book about it. This is true story. It was documented by British historians, and people from India documented it too, and they used it as an idea like how they dealt with these animals, as part of like their dealings with these tigers. Now, as amazing as it may sound, and this is what's super crazy, folks. Listen to this. Tigers kill almost 50 to 60 people a year. Not just in India, just in the Sundarbans. That's just one region, right? Which is where our story tonight takes place. When this guy told me, now this is also important for you aspiring YouTubers and podcasters. Last night I was ordering pizza at a place called Blaze Pizzas. I know what you're thinking. You're like, your fat ass don't eat pizza. It's okay. It's cauliflower crust, and I loaded it with tons of toppings like pepperoni and sausage. I'm joking. I didn't actually.
And a Diet Coke.
And a Diet Coke to wash it down with that aspartame throat burn. That's awesome. No, I didn't. Actually, what I did was I ordered cauliflower crust. Anthony, of course, was unhealthy. He got the regular crust. I'm better than him. I said, you know what? Ooh, brother, ooh.
I mean, I can eat regular crust.
But you know that I'm going to be honest. I've had their regular crust. There's a place called Blaze Pizzas. It's really good. And I don't like their regular crust. I really do like the cauliflower crust. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not making myself, oh, I really like this. It's cardboard.
I actually like the cauliflower crust too.
It's good. It's crispy.
I don't need it because it's not enough calories.
Yeah, it's crispy. It is literally like a third of the calories of what you get, whatever. And so, but it's got a lot of fiber. It's got a lot of fiber. But I put vegetables and chicken on there, and it's a good pizza, right? And so they have this deal where you can get like 3 pizzas and 2 sides for $35. Now they're not huge pizzas; they're like like a medium-sized pizza. But you don't need more than that. If you're eating more than that, you're gonna be having some problems. So I go to Blaze, and it's pretty good. But I met a guy last night. His name was Matt. So shout out to Matt. And we didn't have any business cards on us. And he was telling me about demons that had stalked him. And he was, and it just started out like, he was looking at at a beer. And I don't drink anymore, and I haven't for years, but he was looking at the Crawford Bock.
Mm-hmm.
Crawford Bock is the Astros beer. It's named after the Crawford boxes in the outfield. And they have a bar right there that serves Crawford Bock. And so we were there drinking one time. Y'all remember that?
Mm-hmm.
We were just sitting there and we were waiting for the game to start. The Astros got it going on, man. They got a cool
little city.
Yeah. The food is good. Like they have little restaurants and stuff. So we were back in the outfield. We had good seats, man. We were like third baseline. Yeah. So I was like looking at the time. I said, we got like an hour to kill. We'll just have a couple beers. And then third inning, I'm just like, whoa, wow.
We just spent $100.
They are blowing out the Twins. Whoa. Oh, not even playing the Twins. I'm not even at the Astros game. I'm in jail. What in the heck is going? What is this? What is this? I'm kidding. That's not what happened. Jail came way later. Look, so what happened was, and we got back to the hotel. That's when we discovered a pizza place. I remember Nellie, if you're listening, oh my gosh, she fell in love with that place. It is the best pizza in Houston, and I can't remember the name of it now.
They stay open late, right?
They stay open real late.
That's the reason why.
Places that were
text
named
Nelly
after
and
a
ask
guy.
her to tell us, because if you're ever in Houston and you're
It's like a
anywhere
dude's
near
name.
that stadium, you got to get that pizza, man. It is amazing. So we ended up like getting real hungry, and because we didn't want to eat a bunch of, so we had like a little bit, right? And then we got some pizza, and when we got back to the hotel, and I remember that trip because that was a fun trip, man. We ended up going swimming.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up going swimming, and it was right around my birthday this time, right? And we ended up going swimming because the lady at the hotel was real cool. She's just like, I don't care. It's my last day. Do what you want. And we went in the pool, and we had a bit of blast. But anyway, getting off topic here. The beer is called Crawford Bock. So he was looking at it, and I just started talking to the guy and said, that's actually a really good. I've had it. It's good. He's like, what is it? I said, well, it's the Astros beer. They have their own beer there that they have a brewery, and then they sell it at the stadium. And so we started talking, and I told him about my show. I just started talking about it, and I said, I don't drink anymore. And I told him I get gout because I had Omicron. This is what happens, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I learned a lot of stuff because I talked to somebody who was recommended by a friend of mine from my job. And he's like, what do you do? And I told him I was to do that. And then but I also have a show, and it's not really a job, but it's become, kind of like a second job. But I really enjoy it a lot more than my regular job. And when I said paranormal, then everything, we just started talking, and he started telling me about these demonic encounters he had. So that is how you get people's information. Frank's Pizza, that's what it's called. Frank's. Nelly just texted her. So you have this guy who I met, who was a Nepalese guy who worked at a store on one of our patrol routes, and I went in there and I was talking to him, and he spoke really good English, and he was training another dude, and we hit it off, me and him, because I stopped there, and they always have a clean restroom, and so I go in there, I run in there, and come back out, because I don't have to, walk on the floor and look for needles or whatever could crawl out of the toilet, and I won't sit on these public. I'll hold it until I don't care. I just nope. No, but that one's pretty clean, and so that and the QT, I gotta say, Tony loves the QTs. QTs always have really good. They usually clean the restrooms like once every couple of hours. So I go in there, and the guy's talking, whatever, and I'm wearing my gear, right? And he introduces the guy to me, whatever, and then he tells me, he says, I looked up your show. And I said, oh, really? What do you think? He goes, it's good. He goes, it's not really my thing. He goes, I get kind of freaked out by it. But he's not really like, he's like, I'm not really my thing, whatever. He says, but I got a friend who's, he's into that kind of thing. And so he introduced me to this other guy. Now that guy gave me like 5 or 6 encounters with something that can only be, like I said, this guy's Nepalese, but the guy he introduced to is Bangladesh, and here's Nepal, here's Bangladesh, there's India, it's right there. And so he said, dude, this guy's Bangladesh, and Bengali, because Bengali is actually the language that they speak, right? The Nepalese people speak Nepalese, but the Bengali people, there are people from West Bengali, which is in India, right? Now it's a little bit confusing because
it's in Eastern India, right?
West Bengal is in Eastern India, right? And the reason they call it West Bengal is because here's Bangladesh, then here's India. And there's this like little mass right here, and then a little sliver, then a bigger mass up here, and then there's Bhutan. Bhutan is further up and to the northeast of Bangladesh. This is the Sundarban region, right? The Sundarban has a large tiger population. And now this is why it's important to get to talk to people and know people and give them your card, because even though this guy, his name was Jahesh, even though he didn't, give me, he says, I know a guy, and he says, he talks like this. He says, they don't talk like this. He talked like this. And he says, I know a guy who can talk to you and tell you a lot about these tiger attacks, because he had touched on it in Bangladesh. Now, what he had to say was interesting, but it wasn't super paranormal. He just said, look, my father's brother, he was his uncle. This is Jahesh. He says that there was an attack that took place, right? His father's uncle, right? He got attacked, but he lived, but he's missing his lower left arm now. When this tiger did what it did to him, it had just unalived his cousin, which was his great uncle's first cousin, whatever, which would have been his grandfather and his grandfather's brother's cousin, right? Had been unalived by one of these tigers. That's in Bangladesh, right? Well, southern Bangladesh. He goes, man, but I know a guy who you can talk to who can give you the full story on these things. He says, and I asked him, I said, well, my show's really geared toward the paranormal, not just like animal attacks, like the lions of Savo type thing, right? He goes, no, my friend. He goes, these things, he says, in Bengali, the language, they call them bahoot. Now, it's not boot, and it's not big old boot, you got a big old butt. No, it's bagh boot or bagh bahoot, the way they say it. What that word translates to, bagh or bagh means tiger in their language. And I assume, this is me talking here, that somebody was like, bagh, when they got attacked. And they were like, that's what we called it, bagh. It's just attack.
That is the sound you make when you are attacked by this beast.
Yes, you were taking the poop, looking, and bagh, And then they know to run. They hear bagh, and they're all like, hey, and they all just run.
Bug.
Bagh. So bagha is bagh boot, but the bagh boot is something way more terrifying. And look at the hair standing. You probably can't even see it. Hair standing up on my arms when I talk about it, because that's when we got into some creepy stuff. And Jarush said, he says, look, I have a friend, and his name is Karash. And Karash will tell you, I'm sorry, I got it wrong. Jarash and Karush, right? Jarash says, I got a friend named Karush. Talk to him. He's like, I worked with him for years at a convenience store in Houston. And they ended up working for a distribution company called Gamma that actually distributes. We did security for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, oh, I know Gamma. So we one thing led to another. I had a really good conversation with this guy. He got some crazy stories, but I was thinking, I really want to do these tiger stories. So we touched on it with Barb Hartman. These animals, or whatever you want to call them, are not normal animals. Because what happened to Jarush, what happened to his great uncle, many people were saying that this tiger would come out of the water, right? And people are like, well, tigers are a water-loving animal. They really are. They're one of them, and the jaguar are water-loving animals. Lions don't really like the water, and I'll tell you why. Crocodiles. So they don't go play. When you see a lion in the water, they're like, well, a little bit out of their element, and it's rare that they'll get attacked. Usually it's a younger, smaller one, because lions will fight. And if a croc grabs them, they're going to turn around and they're going to bite, and they're going to use those claws on their eyes. There have been documented cases of them literally killing crocodiles, not taking their shit.
Oh, I mean, jaguars, they hunt.
Jaguars will eat them, kill them. Jaguars are brutal, dude.
Yeah.
Brutal. So anyways, when I was south of Mexico one time, I saw one of these Cayman crocs, pretty good size one, that was ripped open and it was eaten out like a shell. And they were like, oh, jaguar. Yeah. Pretty brutal. So these tigers, what they do is they literally prey on people. But this tiger came up out of the water, and they said that when it would come out of the water, it looked like some kind of creature, like a man-like creature. And then it would go down on all fours and become a tiger. That's all the information I really have about that. When he told me to talk to Karush, he said, ask Karush about the bahoot. I said, okay, I will. So we talked, and Karush, it took a little doing. We had to text back and forth. He's like, who is this? Blah, blah, blah. I finally tricked him. I was like, this is the Gamma distributor. Call me back. I really did. I did that. I'm not even joking. You see what I do for you? You see how I have to, put on an act to get these stories? Give me a break. And the ops are over there going, he just admitted to falsehoods. Let's get him.
Dang right.
Better
donate.
What happened? What happened? We don't have any donations. Oh, we got one.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're trying to, you're strong arming them?
We strong arm. This is what we do for them. So I was saying they better donate.
Well, if we don't, we won't get anything. So that's pretty much it. So you're freeloaders. And then that's why we have to go to paywall. Well, this is the proving ground this month. We're going to decide one way or the other. But so anyways, what ends up happening, this guy, he tells me, he gets on the phone with me, and I said, look, Josh, hard to remember because their names sound very similar. I said, your friend got me in touch with you. He gave me your number and said you were okay with it. He goes, oh yeah. I didn't know. I thought you were someone else. So I finally got him on the phone because I said my name is Wolf, and then he recognized, because I was saying Josh Turner. You know who the hell Josh Turner is. And he said that there was this, Orem, this actually is. It's actually D&D. And he says, that there was this guy that he used to be roommates with when he first came to the States back in the 80s. This guy's been here for a long time. He's a lot older than me. And he says that he got in touch with this guy that lived in India, or he got a call from a guy that lived in India. So he had to go back home for a funeral. The funeral, unfortunately, was for a relative that had been killed and eaten by a Bengal tiger. That's where the word Bengal tiger comes from. It comes from, Bengal. And so this area is used to this. I mean, like I said, it's unbelievable how many people will actually be unalived by these animals. But there is another phenomenon. Okay. Paula King, thank you so much. Tony, you're too strong. Mercy. So I'll be right back. Y'all want to take over just a second?
Yeah, sure.
No, we don't. You know, funny little fun fact. I was actually born in the year of the bull, but since my birthday falls under January, I'm technically under the year of the tiger, because
Why is that?
New Year's for Chinese people, or really that side of the continent, is in February.
Oh,
That's why Chinese New Year's is normally a little bit after.
so then what would I have been born under?
An
December
Indian?
in 1990.
I don't know. I don't know
How
the
do you
year.
not know?
I don't know it by like.
I mean, how does it go? Does it go like by year?
Yeah, it goes by year.
So you can translate like each year corresponds to a different animal.
That's why, like, you know, those coins, those silver or gold coins that Wolf gets.
Mhm.
It's like year of the dragon, year of the rat, year of the rabbit, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's why they're specialty coins, because they only do it once a year for that year.
Let me look it up.
That'll be an interesting thing.
So then your year of the bull, then, right? Technically,
Technically, yeah, but I fall under
See
year of the
what?
tiger.
what year in the Chinese calendar is December 1990?
What is it?
I'm talking about my Chinese.
Year of the horse. Damn it! I wanted to be something cooler than you.
I was talking about
Whatever.
our Chinese zodiac symbols. Since I'm year of the tiger.
You win this one because you have an unfair advantage. You're already Asian. I mean, how can I compete with that? Of course, I'm going to get the horse, and you're going to get the bull.
That's why you got long legs and a horse face.
Wow. So, can you imagine though, like for just a second, you know, before we go any further, imagine if you were a person and you're watching this show, right? You're here, you're learning, you're hearing about people's encounters. I mean, you know, it's you know, you're doing what this show was meant to do, which was to teach people and to inform people and to help people become more aware of the world around them and how strange it. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you're doing what you do. It's very informative. And then you get these people's encounters, and you don't have to go and do it. I've already done it for you. Me and the guys have done it, and Nellie. But then imagine if you're just here as the ops are, to spy and to watch and to just find any little thing they can, any little breadcrumb to hang on to, and try to use it to spin their vile narrative. Can you imagine being those people? They're not getting anything out of this. All they're doing is watching so that they can spew hate, venom, and lies. So just think for a second, and then we're going to come back to the reality here of where we're at. But just, can you imagine that kind of existence? Yes, Madeline, it is pathetic. It is completely pathetic, because they watch the show, the whole pack of them, and then they just sit there and they try to find things to talk trash about and to spew it all, and they spread it all over the internet that they can. And you know, they're like, make it go viral, everything, so they can hate. So they're not getting anything out of all this. So they have shut themselves down to any truths, to anything. That can you just for a minute just imagine being them? They don't have to imagine. They're watching right now. Hi, haters. But they imagine that though. Like, you have to imagine it. They live that. Just a hate-fueled life. Holding on to anger, resentment, bitterness, jealousy, and grudges that really shouldn't exist, because how are you going to start something with somebody retaliates, then you retaliate, or they retaliate, then you retaliate, and then you're mad after you started it. The whole thing, really, you started it. It's got to be awful, because at some point you have to stop and go, hey, I should never have stepped in this. I should just back off, leave it alone, go away. Stop pretending, stop lying, and stop making horrible, horrible videos. There was a video that was released that literally they spun it like it was real. First they said it was real, then they tried to say it was fiction, but it was about the murder and dismemberment of Maddie.
Yep.
I had to say this, folks. I had to, because this is and of course the murder of Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
And of course they throw Tony in there. I mean, it is
Yeah, conveniently, all three of our names are in that story, and me and Maddie die in that story.
absolutely disgusting and awful, horrible behavior. So while you sit here and you have a great, and this is what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to do anything. You're sitting here and you're enjoying this and learning and having a good time. There are people that are so evil, so sick, so foul that that's what they do. That's where their mind goes. And they call themselves podcasters. They're not podcasters. They're YouTubers because they don't know how to do a podcast. And they just sit there and they spew all of this venom. And it's 24/7, folks, 24/7. They always have somebody doing it. They take shifts. And it is absolutely abhorrent. And I had to say something because they are now making, these videos that literally talk about murdering and dismembering Madeline. So what is on their mind? Their mind is to kill us. They've already said many times they would want to kill me. They want to do this. They want to do that. One of them has talked about shooting me openly. Another one, I'm not even going to get into it. It's just so bad. But just imagine, can you imagine being that filled with hate? They are supposedly Christian, but yet I don't know many registered Democrats that really are Christian. They can say what they want, but, and I'm not bagging on Democrats. If you're a Democrat, I'm just saying that a lot of Democrats aren't really Christian. There are a few. I've met a handful, not many. But, let's be honest here. You're not Christian. You don't even believe in God. You don't, because if you did, this would stop. I mean, it's horrible. So after the show, I'm gonna jump on and do a Rumble so that I can talk about this. It's not going to take a big old long time, but I'm gonna say what I got to say. So just be aware of that. So here we are. Back to the story. Sorry for making you go into that reality, but that's the reality that they live in. It's a hate-filled reality where they don't learn anything, they don't do anything, they just focus on hating us, especially me. And so here we go. So here's my thing. When I talked to Karush, I told him, I said, when your friend got the call that his cousin had been killed in India by a tiger, I go, what did you think? He says, man, it was awful. He's like, so I called back home, he goes, we don't live that far away. They lived in an area by the Jalangi River. Now the Jalangi is it's also known as the Padma River, and it's a tributary, but it feeds into the Ganges, and it is what they call it's something tributary. If you look it up, it's not just a tributary. It's like, it's really massive. But there are all these rivers that shoot off from it and these creeks that shoot off from it. And one such creek, which he says it's a river, but it's really a glorified creek, but it's very rainy, so it fills up quite a bit and even floods. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name of it. It starts with like a D. It's like Duma something or another. Duma Marva or something. I know that's not correct. But anyways, there was a village there. Now, I say was a village because it's no longer there. That village comprised over 300 people back in the late 30s, early 40s. His grandfather went away to war and he fought for the British. Hang on.
This river that shoots off of the Ganges called the Hooghly River.
No. It's the Hooghly
Okay.
River. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To us, it would be pronounced like they always put an H, like Dhaka.
Mm-hmm.
That's a province. That's an area in Bangladesh, and they put an H there. You don't need the H; it's just silent. But the Hooghly, it's H. Isn't it Houghl?
It looks like HOO.
There's different ways to spell it.
Yeah.
There's another way to spell it. Look it up. It's HOUGH.
I'm sure because it's all transliterated. It's not like.
But it looks like it would be pronounced like Howley or Hooley, whatever. But it's actually pronounced a Hooghly. So but that's a whole, I think that's near Calcutta, that river. The Jalangi, what I'm talking about, it's a tributary. I can't remember
Oh, I
the
see
name.
it, Jalangi. Yeah,
Yeah, it is
the
called
Jalangi River.
the something tributary. The word is bi-tributary or something like that. In other words, it's a massive place, you know. But that village that was there is no longer there. There were over 300 people that lived in that village, and it was kind of an offshoot of a bigger town that was connected to another town, you know, bigger, you know. It was in West Bengal. That village has now it's gone. It's not even on the it's not even on it's never it was like it was never there, but it was at one time. And what Karush told me, he says that is where my people were from. And so I was talking to him. I said, so what happened? He said the bagh bahoot came, and I'm like, that scene in Ghost in the Darkness. He's like, the ghosts in the darkness have come. He's like, in English, you know. When he said that, the bagh bahoot came to our village, and I'm just like, who is that? Like, what is that? And I remember hearing Jarush talk about it, and I said, Jarush told me. So Karush told me, look, okay, what that is, and what is so creepy about it is that is like these ghouls that were killed and eaten by tigers. So the fun doesn't end with you being killed and eaten by a tiger. Oh, okay. And some people are so poor and so destitute there that they actually, being unalive would probably be a mercy to some of these people. Very crushing existence. But when you are killed or unalived, I guess I should say for the YouTube algorithms, by the bagh, the tiger, you become a bagh bahoot or boot, right? Depending on which region, it's bega or bagao or bagh, bahoot, whatever, or boot. We'll just say bagh bahoot to make it easier to just leave the O off. We'll just say that. The bagh bahoot. This creature, what it is a person that becomes a evil spirit, born of spite and angry at humanity for allowing them to be killed by these tigers. He says, I have a story to tell you about my grandfather when he returned. He goes, he was an officer in the military. Now, he didn't actually do a lot of the fighting. He just led his troops, right? He was an older guy. He went away and he came back, worked with the British Empire, and there was a division called the Bengali division. The Bengal division. That's where they came from. And if you go further up to the north, there's a whole province there that's just still like, it's almost like the British descendants of British people that stayed there. And they will go on these tiger hunts with these elephants. Now, here is the thing that really got me. When he started talking about these tigers, he was referring to them as tiger men. I said, okay, you're talking about tiger people that go out and hunt tigers, right? And he goes, no, I'm referring to the people that are like tigers. They can transform into tigers. Then it got really good. I was like, okay, Jarush did not steer me wrong. So I told this guy, I said, you got to tell me more about this. He says, my grandfather can tell you. His best friend, still alive to this day. He's like 92 years old. This guy, he's an old guy. He says, this is my dad's, or his dad's best friend. He's my dad's best friend. The son of one of the officers that served under my grandfather. He said, when they came back, they were captured, right? And they ended up becoming prisoners. And they did some fighting in Bhutan. And of course, the Japanese had the hold of that area. They predominantly fought the Japanese. Hold on one second. Okay, so anyways, so they fought the Japanese up in Bataan, and then they fought in other places too, like Siam. They were prisoners of war. They didn't get released until 1946, and you're going like, well, the war was over. Well, nobody told the Japanese there. The radio communication had been knocked out, and the British eventually just went house to house, street to street, knocking the Japanese out. And finally, they brought Japanese officers there to tell them, look, tell these people that the war is over, or we're going to turn you over to MacArthur. You know, the Japanese were really, really, really afraid of MacArthur. I'm telling you, that's the truth. MacArthur had, the Americans took hold of Japan. And they told him, they said, you need to let these people go. When they let them go, there were different types of people there. There were Sikhs. There were all kinds of people, Muslims, Hindus. This person, Krush, his family, is that his grandfather was Sikh, but he's not. And, you know, just kind of, you know, he's very secular. But, well, he's not really secular. He's actually Christian now. But, you know, what ended up happening, his whole village, he comes back, his grandfather tells him. He left, there were over 330 people in that village. When he returned, there were less than 100.
Oh.
And he was like, what happened? He was gone for 3 years. I mean, you know. And he ended up going to a neighboring village called Jakhai. And Jakhai, where they told him, they said, that village is gone. That village was called Paja. Paja is no more. The Dhammavarma, I think it's Dhammavarma, whatever, that tributary, that river that shoots off, whatever, is where the bodies are. Taken by the bagh bahoot. And he was stunned. His grandfather, he grew up with this story. And he said, you know, it wasn't that long ago, maybe 15, 20 years, when his friend had to go back home for a tiger that unalived someone of his family. And he said, well, it would have been about 15 years ago, 2011, must 14 years ago, whatever. And he said it was insane. You know, he goes, his grandfather returns and he has to go to the neighboring village. And Jaha, they tell him, you know, Paja is gone. What happened was in 1943, at the height of the World War II, a woman was down by the river, or the offshoot of the river, and she was gathering water and firewood and taking it, you know, to take it back. And this creature came up out of the water. I say creature because that's what it was. Black, covered in slime, like sludge. And I just want to say also, I want to say, Krush, if you're listening, thank you for this, because this was, it's pretty cool. I mean, it's a pretty, not cool in the way these people,
It's terrible it happened.
but pretty cool that he very detailed. He knew this story, his grandfather, you know. So this creature comes up out of the water covered in black. And as this slime starts to fall away from it, it pulls down to the legs, and then this thing begins to form. It flops onto the ground, starts to take the shape of a tiger. Now, you would say, man, this is crazy, like whatever. But this woman who takes flight, she bails, she just runs through the woods, through the forest. This thing is jumping from tree to tree. Yeah, it's not running on the ground. And with each leap, it becomes more like a tiger until it's finally right there at the foot of her tent, her hut, because they live in like these thatched huts, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ones that live on the edge. The other people have like this clay houses, whatever. And then there's like this bigger house where his grandfather lived. They have like a house, and then everybody kind of lives around it, kind of like a little medieval, like a fiefdom, you know, a little castle. And she stops, and then several villagers come out and they see it. And they all start beating the ground with sticks and screaming and yelling and whatever. And before they could do anything, this thing leaps. Her son gets in front of her, and he bites him on the head, drags him into the forest, never to be seen again. This woman, her name was Ita. Ita told everybody in the village, this is what I saw. They knew what this was. These people in India. They didn't even bat an eye. They didn't go, "Whoa, that's a weird tiger." They knew it. The bahoot had come. What this thing was a person that had been killed the summer before, who was known to be a practicing witch doctor. According to the rumors in a neighboring village, the village that we talked about, Jiha, they had a feud going with Paja, and the witch doctor there had summoned one of these people who had been unalived by a tiger and drug into the water, which, according to what they believe, strengthens the spirit. Now, you got to remember, the Irish believe this too. Not about tigers, but if you drown in the water, especially the Fae, you become very powerful. Water, right? Same thing with the British Isles. There's a lot of legends like that in France, especially in the south, northern Spain. The Celtic regions, they do believe this. These are like the water is very potent. It's kind of a universal thing, right? These people get drug into this water. They become these spirits, right? They become an evil, vengeful spirit, and they are the legends, the stories, I believe, have some truth to them. Now, the why, I don't know. I think it's something that humans put together. They're like, why would they do this? Well, they're angry because we didn't protect them. How many of those people in the village had guns? The answer is none. They couldn't protect themselves other than sticks and knives. A raging tiger, one of the most perennial predators on earth. I mean, it is just an amazing animal. You're not going to do too good. And if it looks at you as prey, they believe that this young man that had, relations with this woman from the neighboring village, they got together. The guy that was in charge of that village, the elder, which would have been the position that this guy's grandfather had, Karusha's grandfather, went to the witch doctor and says, I want him dead. What do? They summon a demon, a tiger. The tiger kills the young man, dragging him out of the house in the middle of the night. This was in 1943, right? The beginning of this. When this thing did what it did, it went past several family members, smaller people, even children that were young as 4 years old. It went through the house and it went to this guy's bedroom, opening the door. Literally, they saw it push it with its paw, walk in, and they just bit him right on the head and then absconded with the body out the window and then took it up a tree, which is not normal. That is not really the normal way, but it didn't eat him. It left him hanging there by his arms like this. That's why they knew that this was an unnatural thing. This was not a normal predator. What predator is going to go in there,
skip over all the
easy prey, run in there and take down a man who's in his mid-20s, the strongest person in the house, take him through the window and then take him up a tree and drop him there.
Just leave him.
Right behind the house with bites to the skull. Their practitioner, whatever, their elder's doctor, right? He confronts that they go in a group to this other guy, to the witch doctor. The elder was not there because he was off fighting. So was the elder of this other village in Paja. So what they did was they took matter into their own hands. And apparently this guy was evil and oppressive to the people of Jah because they didn't give a shit. They didn't stop him. And in fact, some of their villagers got together and they hung this dude. They hung this guy at the behest of the other doctor, who I don't want to say witch doctor because he didn't call him a witch doctor. He called him a doctor. So I don't know for sure. But that guy said to leave him there for 3 days and that he would be taken down and eaten by the bahoot. At the third day, sure enough, this creature that looks like a yellow ball of light comes rolling out of the jungle, becomes a tiger, stands up like a man, pulls him down, and begins to eat him head first. Eats the head and the feet for whatever reason, and then leaves the rest of it to whatever and goes back off into the jungle. A bunch of people saw this happen. That convinced them that it was the work of this witch doctor. The witch doctor's son, however, was not done. He was angry, and he had a meeting, and he says, you not only killed the protector of this village, which is not correct, but you killed my father, and now I'm going to curse you. So what they did was they threw rocks at him and stripped him of his clothes. I don't know why they had to do that. And they beat him. You know, that part's kind of weird. I mean, like, why didn't they just beat him? You know, you didn't have to get him naked and beat him.
Yeah. What?
You could just beat him, right?
I mean, a beating's a beating.
Yeah.
It's not like
the clothes aren't really going to protect you too
it's
much.
not armor.
So he takes off. He runs his naked ass to the next village over, which is Paja, seeking refuge. And of course, the people of Paja, they stone him, and then he dies, and they take him and they leave him out in the jungle. 2 days later, there's a woman who's walking through the jungle. She sees him standing there holding a rock, blood coming out of his head, and he turns and walks back into the jungle. She sees in the distance a tiger sitting there watching, calculating, watching every move, stalking her. And the best thing you can do is not run, which is hard to do because then it triggers that, you know. She turns to walk back into the village, goes back. The tiger fades off into the jungle. She sees the man who has got he's heading toward the tiger. That is the bahoot. So what that is, folks, is a person who was killed by a tiger. But the question is, how did he become that if he wasn't killed by a tiger? So they wanted to figure out who threw the last rock. That's the person they said that killed him. So there was a guy named Jamar. So they go to Jamar and they tell him, hey, you were the guy that threw the crushing blow at this guy's skull. You got something to tell us. He says, no, I don't. I am just here working, driving a cab. I don't know. I'm joking. I'm kidding. It wasn't a cab. He was running a hotel. Look, he said, so he goes, look, I did nothing. I just threw a rock like everybody else. And like, no, you killed him. This guy had a good argument, though. He's like, this is the witch doctor's son. I mean, of course, his spirit is going to be evil. And he's trying to plead his case. And he's like, I'm not a bad guy. And then he takes off running into the woods. Never to be seen again by the villagers, right? Or was he? Because over the next 2 years, they are attacked over and over and over again. They go into Jamar's house. They find all kinds of stuff, magic runes, books about magic, all kinds of crap, stuff that he had gotten when he traveled up to the English area. Books that he had ordered that were from Britain, books that were from Germany. He had books from Indonesia. This guy was a reader. He was educated. And his mother and father were refugees from a neighboring village of basically not a civil war, but yeah, it was a dust up. And they came there just one generation before. And they tell Jamar, his mother and his now deceased father, but his grandfather and his grandfather's sister, whatever, and they tell him, you need to leave our village. They were kind of outsiders anyway. They were taken in. They were in a neighboring village originally, and then they ended up in their village. That village was the one that had the witch doctor. Come to find out that he was actually an apprentice of that guy. So they go back to Jahai, but after this insult, they didn't let it go. It became like a rivalry, but there were a lot of people in Jahai who had relatives in Paja and in another neighboring village called Sian. I gotta look. Well, I want to look it up. And it doesn't matter. It starts with an S. Let's put it that way. So this other village was a bigger village. It was more like a town, right? They had people that had they had enough people there to have a a constabulatory area. They send people to go investigate, and they're like, "What's going on here? People are shooting, stabbing, whatever." Some of the people that ran the little castle place, what I call it a castle, it's like a big house, the plaza there. They came and they got guns and they went back, and a couple people had died out in the woods. What's going on? One of the soldiers standing there at the mouth of the village of Jahai is arguing with one of the villagers while they're talking to this guy. A tiger runs up, bites him on the back of the neck, pulls him down, removing his head and taking off into the jungle in front of like 20 other soldiers who were so stunned at first they didn't even shoot. Then when they did start shooting, they actually shot a couple of their own people because of the chaos. This is a nightmare. So then this bigger place, the bigger city, they tell them, you know what, come back, let these people, these are backwoods, the Indian version of hillbillies.
Yeah.
Let's just leave them to it. We're not risking ourselves anymore. We're not going to have any more people die. We're not going to be Indian. We're not going to be Bengal tiger poop. You just come back. That's it. Eventually, word gets back to this guy's father, the guy Karush that tells me the story. He's on the front lines. He comes back on leave. This is before he and his grandfather were captured. He comes home. He's got a weapon, right? And there's several soldiers there that are from these two different villages. Now, it was only a couple of people in that other village that were causing problems. And the neighboring village, they were all kind of related. These people they all knew each other, going back a couple, 3 generations. And so they were just like, look, we get rid of the troublemakers. They kick out this guy, Jamar. They kick out his mother and father, and they make them leave to go into the wilderness. So they try to go into the bigger town, Sae, and those people knew who they were, and they refused to let them in. So they faded off into the jungle. Once again, never to be seen again, right? At this point, the attacks became very serious, to the point where every night somebody was getting their house broken into, and if they weren't being pulled out into the night by a tiger, then they were being assaulted, at least, and with wounds. To make things worse, soldiers coming back from the front lines were coming back. They set up like a station there a few miles up the road. These were soldiers that were wounded, that didn't have limbs, that were gashed up and had been hit with frags, So what do you think is going to happen? Well, guess what? Tigers started attacking them too. Not just one, not just 2, but 3. And they were working in tandem. And if they weren't attacking that substation, they were attacking Jahai, and they were attacking the people that were on the outskirts of Sierra, and they were attacking these people. They were really going full tilt on Paja. By the time this thing was done in 1947, 150 people had been unalived. When I looked into some of this stuff, dude, there was a ton of information on there. You can't figure out, it's the average is 50 to 60 people. And at this time, there was 100, the averages were 100 people a year. But a lot of these people do not believe, and you're going to say, okay, these are backwoods people that have a superstition. But the people of the Appalachians, they're very backwoods too, and they'll tell you straight up, they believe in the wood booger. They believe in Bigfoot. It grabs people, it kills people, it eats people. They know what they're talking about. And these people said that this thing is absolutely not a normal thing. This is the bahoot. It's not a bagh, which is a tiger. This is the evil spirit of someone who had been unalived by a tiger, vengeful, angry, wanting vengeance. One of the reasons they believed this so wholeheartedly was not just because of the circumstantial evidence that was presented
to the elder when he finally returned from Bataan, but because the witnesses, the eyewitnesses, not the least of which was Ita. When she got attacked, this was not 1943, this was already 1945. A year later is when they were released, and then finally in 1947 it all came to an end, because when this man returned, his grandfather, Karusha's grandfather, him and his men put an end to this shit. At least they think they did. So let's go back to 1945. 45, toward the end of World War II, right? Should have been the end, but it wasn't. Still went on for a while. Even in Europe, there were pockets of resistance that went on well past April of 1945. The SS fought in the woods for a long time. Same thing with Japan. There were battles and skirmishes that continued to go on.
And there's a guy who's on an island fighting by himself. He thought
Yeah.
the war went on for like years,
Yeah, decades.
decades.
He didn't know. I personally don't believe. I think he was there and he was just like, it's been so long. He just didn't. I think he got comfortable. Robinson Crusoe was just like, when they find him, he's like, so he don't want to get in trouble because he thinks they won, right? He goes, I guess we taught those people a lesson, huh? They're like, we lost. He goes, oh, okay, yeah. I thought I was just fighting the war still. He just a deserter. You don't go by yourself and not know 20 years later that the war is over.
Yeah.
You're either hallucinating, you got some really good mushrooms there with you, or you're just trying to escape.
I was going to let you guys handle Americans. I was going to handle the sea god, Neptune.
I pretty much taught him a lesson. I went out there and I whipped him with bamboos. He said he's not going to do anything to this island.
It was an army
You're
of three, me, myself, and Irene.
Well, another thing too, he wanted to get back pay.
No, that's
2
crazy.
decades. He's like, you owe me. I've been out for 2 decades. The Japanese government's like, what? That's not a caricature of a Japanese person. What? I'm just saying, they're like, what? We're not paying you for that. The war is over, man. We're already fighting Godzilla. What are you doing? What are you doing? You deserted. Now you want to get paid. You know what? We'll give you a bento box and $10. We can call it even. And not even $10. We're going to give you the yen equivalent of that.
It's like Austin Powers when he got defrosted.
Oh, finally, the capitalist pigs are going to pay, eh?
Yeah.
It's like, Austin,
Hey,
we
comrade.
won. Oh, yay, smashing. Yay, capitalism.
Yeah.
Yay, hey, comrade. He's all talking like a communist.
He thought they lost.
He didn't believe in the cause. But I can tell you this. When you stop and you look at this, these people, what they went through and what they go through is a freaking nightmare. It's a freaking nightmare. Now, more people are unalived by tigers than animals in Africa, lions, hyenas, than all of them put together. Simple reason. Lions have a lot of prey. And they don't, they'll come in contact with people, but not nearly as much as these tigers do. These tigers come in contact with people way more, and they're solitary hunters, so their success depends on it. On their survival depends on it. So 75% of the world's tiger population is right there in the Sundarbans. It's in India. It's a scary thing that they deal with daily. Now, some people would say these are just stories that they make up to explain the madness that they have to go through. But I think there's something to it. And then people are like, of course you do. You have a paranormal channel. And I do. And I do. I believe that there is a demonic influence on these animals. These are water spirits. One of the things that they saw, Ita was one of the first people to point out that this was something unnatural. She saw it come out of the water. Multiple people were on the, whatever that is, that offshoot of the Jalangi, and they were there fishing, doing whatever. And this horrible explosion comes up out of the water, and this thing that doesn't look like a tiger would grab them out of their boats, of their little canoes, and pull them down into the depths. They would find these people bones, still with the cartilage and everything attached, but the meat and all of the whatever on the body, along with the soft organs, tissue, gone, just gone. These things would strip the bones, but not eat the bones. Tigers will eat the bones. So they were like, "This is a tiger. This is a crocodile." That's not. Trust me, it's not.
It's much worse.
Much worse. So then they said this must be The bahoot. This is what this creature is. The bahoot, whatever. The H is silent, I believe. And so when the bahoot kills these people, they're like, oh, okay, so this is the vengeful spirit of the people who were unalived by tigers. And one of the ways, depending on what culture you're in, whether it's Bangladesh, Indian, whatever, there's a difference. If you manage to kill the tiger that is, but you have to kill the tiger. Get this. This is a horrible thing. This is the West Bengali version of it. You have to kill the animal before it dies on its own, which I don't know how that is, but you have to kill the animal that kills the person because it could die of who knows what. If you manage to do that and you do it ceremoniously with salt or silver, right? Then that person will not become a bahoot. But if you don't do that, and you don't find the right tiger, then that person is forever there in purgatory until Brahma takes mercy on him or his son, Krishna, and says, hey, you don't have to be this anymore, and they free them. And it depends on how evil the person is. If the person is not a good person when they die, then they go into that purgatory and they become a bahoot. There's a lot of stuff about this. It's really deep. Then you start to learn that these things, people see them as much as they see the tigers. And they will look like a family member. This is what happened to one of these people. I don't remember his name. He's out chopping wood because they have to. They need it. And it's a very dangerous thing. So he's got 2 or 3 guys they'll be standing around. One of them's chopping. I know you see this on the interstate when they're working on it, right? One guy's working, everybody's standing around looking. They don't have an excuse. The people in India do.
The clock.
Yeah, people in India are like 2 people watching for tigers, and one guy's chopping as fast as he can and as nervous as he can.
Yeah.
And he's like, bagh. They're like, nope, okay. Okay, keep chopping. And then they're like, he turns around. He's by himself.
Yeah.
He's like, and then it's, sucks, man.
And then there was none.
Poor guy in that skit. But the thing is, these bahoot will show up and they'll be like a family member. And this is what happened to one of these wood choppers. He comes out of the woods and he's like, I've been attacked, brothers. I've been attacked. And they're like, this guy was just attacked like a few days before. And they're like, well, let's help him. So they go to help him. He's flesh and blood. They can feel that he's a real guy. And they're like, he goes, no. He goes, let's go this way, down this trail over here. He's like, help me. There's another person over there. We got to help them. And they're like, oh, okay, down this trail right here? Yeah, sure. That's where it's at, right? One of the people that was with this wood chopper told him, don't do that. Don't go. And as he turns and he looks, the guy that was standing there with the wound, he's smiling. And he's like, yeah. He turns into something that looks kind of like a ghoul, like a vampire. And he's got these teeth and fangs. And he's like, yeah. He's like, soon we'll all be together. And then he hears, and then the guy starts mouthing the words, bagh, and then they just run into the village. And this ghoul is chasing behind them. And now he just looks like a greenish, pale-skinned ghoul. Greenish is what he said. Greenish ghoul. Sometimes they'll look purplish or blue, depending on the whatever. If they die in the water, they look blue. If you die in the jungle, they look green. But he takes off running after these people, and this greenish colored ghoul is screaming at them, shrieking, telling them to come back. Come back, brothers. They take off into the village, and then they start seeing their friend roaming around in the woods. He's now one of these, and he leads them to this tiger. You remember the guy who was hit in the head with the rock?
Mm-hmm.
And he was walking around, and the lady was like, whoa. And the tiger was there kind of lurking. I think that guy was trying to lure her to this entity, which may be another bahoot, or it could be the entity from the water. I think they're 2 different things. I think the bahoot is like a ghoulish vampire creature. This is my opinion. This is the research I've done. That's what I think it is. And it helps these water spirits that pretend to be tigers. Or, and we've said this before, this is why you plead the blood of Jesus over your pets, right? They possess the tiger, right? I'll be right back.
This thing is like really, I don't know what to think. I mean, I don't know if it's like, I mean, I want to say that it possesses the tiger, but then
Yeah, I'm
I don't know.
I don't know if like
Because maybe I mean, like we could also be dealing with two different things here.
this is what I was thinking. I'm curious too, because is it like what I wonder what role the tiger actually has in it, because I know that in India cows have a significant religious purpose.
Hmm.
So I'm curious if like tigers have a nefarious kind of connotation in them for them, and especially in a place where they're prevalent, like in where they're at.
Well, you notice like, okay, shapeshifters, like wherever wherever they're at, they tend to take the form of like the predators that are around them,
Mhm.
or like I mean, this is kind of nerdy, but like Transformers, like how when they crash landed on planet Earth, the form they took before they took like cars and jets was like dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's like the same. Maybe it's the same thing. Like if there's a sentient being that has the ability to take different forms, it's going to take the form of whatever is like regionally whatever is around them.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. And what a form to take too. Because like tigers, I think will hunt bears even.
They
Mhm.
will.
Yeah.
Sun bears in particular.
Yeah.
Like,
Mean, dude.
they'll take out black bears. When lions and tigers are together too, people don't realize this, but tigers are about male tigers. People are really, not you, the paratroopers. And if you didn't know this, no big deal. But I got to crack on people. Like I've argued with so many people who try to tell me lions are bigger than tigers. No, they're not. A male tiger outweighs a male lion by about 100 pounds.
Lions are pack animals. They live in a pride.
Lions have the advantage of being, yeah.
In a pride, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like that just means that a tiger who has to be by itself is quite scary.
They're terrifying.
Yeah.
Dude. I had a friend, I told you guys, I had a friend that had one when this thing was a cub. Fun to pet. When it got older, he's just like a big cat. I'm like, yeah, and house cats can tear you apart. Look what a house cat did to my arm. Okay? Don't tell me that a house cat, I'm telling you right now.
Okay, well, first off, house cats are the most successful predator when they're
Actually, I was wrong about that.
They're not,
The black-footed cat. But here's the thing about that. That is really just a less domesticated house cat.
Yeah,
Just called that, but it's a 60% predator rate. Yeah.
I mean, house cats are definitely successful. I mean, the feline is just an extremely versatile predator.
They are.
So I don't even want to imagine one that big.
Yeah. And so you have this humongous animal that is a deadly predator, but what better animal to possess?
Mm-hmm.
The lions of Savo were said to be the souls of dead medicine men. They were killed, and there were people from India, even from this region, that went there to Savo to work because they're working for the British. And those people swore up and down that they were like the same thing. These lions from Savo that were doing this, they were just like those tigers. It's a very interesting like sideline if you go and look into this. It's a really, here at PRT we pride ourselves on bringing you, because a lot of people are just going to stay around to the United States and whatever, and that's great. But there is a lot of stuff to be learned and a lot of information to be gleaned from other cultures, from other countries. And I love the fact that we were able to bring you this, because I was chomping at the bit to do this. You know, Tony, I was just like, man, I want to really do this story, and it's going to be interesting. So I kind of crammed for it with Karush and thank to Jarash for helping me. Karush was instrumental in getting this to me, but without Jarash, I never would have known.
Never met.
Yeah. And of course, my friend he goes by Thomas. That's not his real name. He's his Americanized name. I don't want to mess up his name. It's called God, it starts with a T. Toshmu, something like that. I hate that. I just call him Thomas. It doesn't matter. That's it. But he's Nepalese. I think it's something like that, like Tajman. Anyway, he works at this 7-Eleven on one of my routes, or not 7-Eleven. That's okay. Really nice guy. And we just started talking, and he's like, "Yeah, it's kind of not my thing. Listening to it at night." He said, "I was here at night one time, and this is funny. He was listening to our show, and it scared the crap out of him because he says that store is haunted." Because he saw like the bathroom door open and close by itself, and he was like, "What?" So he tells his manager, and his manager's like, "Oh yeah, this place is haunted," because apparently somebody died there, like years and years ago or something. I don't know the whole story, but I mean that's what he said. I haven't looked into it, but I will be honest. Like I was in there one time, and I was washing my hands, and I was in the bathroom. I thought somebody walked behind me. This is how I found out. That's because I asked him, and I was like, and somebody walked behind me, and then I look, and there was nobody there, and I was like, I mean, and I'm not like scared of ghosts because I'm used to them, so I just go in there and look, and I was like, open the stalls, like there's nobody in here. Imagine if there was though. You open the, hey, what are you doing? Just want to see your feet.
So
Okay, yeah, I'm good. Now, I know you're a real person. So
why don't you announce yourself when you walked in?
Yeah, I mean, I could have swore I saw somebody. It's not a huge bathroom, so I went and I told the guy that works there, and that's how I started talking to him. And I was like, "What's your name?" He goes, "Thomas." And I said, "Well, Thomas, is this place haunted or something?" He looks around, he goes, "Yes." He was like, "Yes, yes, yes." And so I told him about the show, and then I come back and he goes, "Your show, too scary. It's not my thing." He goes, "But I know people who can blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Dude, great. Give me their information." So I got to meet, what's his face. And then, yeah. So anyways, one thing led to another. And then me and Karush ended up like hitting it off. And yeah. Okay, Dick Richards, you're so ridiculous.
What do you say?
Wolf wants feet pics. Give me a break. Stop being bitter, man. It's not my fault you were named the way you were. Okay. But yeah, so we ended up like, hitting it off, and Crush said, "Look, I'm going to tell you a story." He goes, "Are you sitting down, my friend?" And I said, "I love to hear that, because when somebody tells you that, they're going to tell you something's going to knock your socks off." And I'm like, "Good. Tell me, let's do this." And so, yeah, I mean, and I repeated it all back to him, and he was like, and then he filled in the blanks that I kind of missed because there was a lot of information. Trying to get the names right, and I don't think I got them all exactly right, but you get what I'm saying.
You get the gist.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect or whatever. I'm just trying to get the information to you.
It's interesting someone's talking about crossbreeding, because that the liger, which is the combination of the two, it's actually bigger than either species. So it's crazy. And they also are infertile.
Yeah, they're infertile.
Yeah.
There was a book. I never read it, but I had it, and I always planned to read it. I thumbed through it once because I read Death in the Long Grass, and look that book up.
Okay.
That book is really good. And so I read that one, and then I thumbed through, it's called Monster of God. And it was about tiger attacks. And oh no, you know what? I might have read that one. It's an older book, but it's pretty good. And it just, I think I did read most of that one. But I've read many books about animals attacking people and things like that. It's pretty fascinating, but I can't help but be just totally, what does it say?
It's Death in the Long Grass by Peter Hathaway Capstick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Somebody just said Peter Capstick.
Yeah.
But I guess I told you to look it up, but what year was that written?
Oh, 1 second. 1977.
That's how old it is, that Death in the Long Grass. I mean, dude.
Yeah, he's a professional hunter.
Yeah. And some of these people, they'll go out and they'll get rid of like problem animals and stuff. And I have talked to a couple people who've told me, "Hey, man, I know." Now, I haven't talked to people who do that. Only one guy, and I was up in Alaska, but I've talked to people who know the people, and they've said some crazy things that they've told them. So, if anybody knows anybody, I'm looking to correspond, because I'd love to get deeper into it, because I do believe animals can become possessed. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, all respect to lions. I still think they're, the Mapogo lions are some of my favorites.
The Mapago,
yeah. But I don't like that they're called the kings of the jungle when they live in a savannah.
Jungle, man.
If anyone was a king, it'd be
It's
a tiger
tigers
or a jaguar. That's my bet.
And like I said, jaguars are violent.
Mhm.
They're the third largest cat behind tigers and then lions, but they are very, very violent. And I do believe I read somewhere that jaguars are more closely related to saber-tooths
Yeah.
than lions and
Okay.
tigers. If that's correct, I believe that's correct. But they are just jaguars ain't no joke, dude.
Mhm.
They're mean. I mean, they're tough, dude. I mean, the people down there in Guatemala just fear the hell out of those things. I
would
mean, they
too.
are terrified of them, dude. And they'll shoot first and ask questions later. They're not going to wait around. If they even think one is hide, because they'll hide in the bush and they'll open fire on it. They don't care. They're just like, well, better safe than sorry. Oh, it's a taper. Cool. But we're not taking a chance on this bastard running out, and because they'll just, and that's it. And so, and they like water too. They'll hold their breath too. Here's an interesting thing. Now, when the substation was created for the military people that were coming back in that region, it was several miles up the road, and it got attacked one night by 3 tigers. And now, I think it was Orem that said this earlier. Tigers don't hunt in packs. They're solitary. They only meet up to mate, and that's it. Tigers got it figured out. They're like, hey, man, why take the cow when you can just get the milk for free, right? Male tigers, very chauvinistic animals. I'm just saying. I'm not that way.
I don't believe in it, but
I'm happy to
respect
be
it.
henpecked and told what to do constantly, being told where to put my socks and that I can't leave things laying around and blah, blah, blah. I love it. I love it.
It's my favorite.
Especially when she yanks the blankets. This is her favorite move, to roll over the yanks the blankets, and then I have one leg and one is covered. Love it. Delicious. Pure deliciousness. Wouldn't trade it for the world. All right. But I'd trade it for about $350. So, and a picture of that Loch Ness monster. So, joking, Nelly. I'm joking, honeybee. I love you. You know that. I'm kidding. But the tigers. They're the ones you need to be worried about. Very, what is the other word? Not chauvinistic. What is it?
Unfaithful.
Misogynist.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
Not only are they misogynist, but they'll eat you. They'll destroy you. They're terrible. So these tigers, what they do is they go to this substation and they unalive like 4 people in this one night in the middle of the summer, very brutal hot. The smell from those people's wounds must have been all wafting through the air. Couldn't help themselves. And they showed up and they unalived 6 people. Can you imagine you're wounded by the Japanese, you come home and they put you up in a tent in the sweltering heat with a bunch of other dudes. You're suffering, and then your suffering comes to a brutal end at the hands of a demonic tiger, and then you become a ghoul.
You must have done something really bad in a past life.
Yeah.
And in some versions of these ghouls, they drink the blood of the victims from the tiger. The tiger leaves them the blood and eats the meat. What a bargain. What a deal. Thank you, Mr. Tiger.
Sign me up.
Well, it's better than Dracula. He only gives you bugs. He's like Bill Gates. He just wants you to eat bugs. Thank you, Master. Oh, thank you. Oh, it's wonderful. Oh, the crickets, delicious this time of year.
Nom, 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 nom.
No. It's like Dracula dead and loving it. He goes, did you just eat a bug? He's like, no. He's got it like, he's like, I see it struggling for its life hanging out of your mouth. It's like, oh my gosh. Funny stuff. But let me tell you, so these creatures, they unalive these soldiers, and then there was a person down by the water that was getting water from the whatever to take back, and they see these creatures running away, dragging people. One of them stands up on its hind legs like a man and puts this guy over his shoulder and walks into the woods, into the jungle. This was seen by a woman that was a nurse's aide. She goes back, she reports this. And some of this stuff got back to some of the British who had come back, and they were curious to see what was going on. They're like, what is going on? Oh my gosh, what is happening here? This is quite extraordinary. So there was a British guy who came. He was a hunter. And I don't know his name. I'm not going to get into it because I wasn't given the name by Karush. But he says this guy came and he brought a couple of his pals and a few people that were Sikh. They live in another region. And they were like, oh, we'll get rid of this tiger. They go into the woods. Nobody sees him again. They find a part of a leg, a boot, like a boot, one of the guy's boots. And then they find like a bloody turban. And then they found the guy's watch, the British guy's watch. All their weapons were unfired. Now that's weird. Wouldn't the guns have been fired?
Mm-hmm.
Fully loaded magazines with the breech loading, whatever. Unbelievable. And so you got to wonder, man. You got to wonder. These people who are going through this absolute madness, and it got to a fever pitch in 1945. From 43 to 45, it had been building. Eventually, the village of Paja was just completely being relocated. They were moving, they were going to the bigger town, they were going to Jae, they were getting the hell out of there. Until there was only about 50 people left in 1946. And then in 1947, when his grandfather had returned toward the end of 1946, going into 1947, he comes home and he's like, this is crazy. This is a nightmare. His whole village, his whole land, everything was gone. There was nobody there. Very fertile area, nice place. And it was just decimated by these tigers. He was on a boat. His grandfather witnessed this. And he says, I believe that they were just animals that could be killed by bullets. He's like, we were in the water where these tigers would go to drink. The area there had been culled from crocodiles. Strange that the crocodiles were not there. They were not present. In fact, one of the safest places to go if you were a tiger would be right there on the banks because there's nothing there to stop you. So they hung out in this one area where the water was kind of still, where tigers would like to come and drink. They're in a boat and they're sitting there in the boat, and they literally the tigers are smart. They had to lay down and cover themselves. And they could see these tigers come out. Very dark. It was a full moon. They had to do it by the light of the moon. A lot of people say these things come out in the full moon because you can see them in the full moon. While they're under this tarp, they see one tiger come out, then they see another one, and then even another one. The third one, the largest one, big, looking around, doesn't just start drinking the water. He's watching. Goes into the water and starts wading. And the next thing they know, he's coming toward their boat. And they're like, oh, crap. So they throw the tarp back. And at this point, the other two tigers leap into the water. All three are coming toward their boat. They sit up, but they had a machine gun. Never fear. Bullets are here, right? They start spraying. These tigers submerge into the water. They don't see these tigers. 30 seconds goes by. A minute goes by. Another minute. Almost 3 minutes.
Dang.
Submerged in the water. And they're looking. The water is still. There's nothing. And then he's like, okay, let's get out of here. They turn on the engine and they start to take off. This isn't a huge boat. It's a fishing boat. A fishing boat about double the size of like a little bass boat, whatever, like a fishing boat, so whatever. They take off. It's literally comfortably fits 4 people. So, use your head. They take off. They get further down the river, and then here are these tigers right there on the shore. Where they are starting to unload, they come right up out of right up onto the shore. This is like 2 miles up the road from where they were at. This was what convinced his grandfather, this is not normal. Something is wrong. These are not normal animals. How did they submerge and we don't see them in any direction? They used a spotlight. They were looking. They get almost 2 miles by the kilometers. Did the math. It's almost 2 miles. These things are up on the shore, like hiding in the long grass. They come out. They're right there. And they jump into the water, and they're right there going onto their boat. One of them was shot point blank by a bolt action rifle, straight up right through the skull, and it just went into the water, and it sunk like a stone. The other two stopped, turned, and slink back into the jungle. They're looking for this creature. It's down in the water. The other two have gone. They took off. They fired at them, of course, too. They didn't just shoot that one. They were shooting at the others too. They took off. This is, like I said, almost 2 miles away from where they initially saw them on the other side of the river. Of this, well, it's not a river. It's like a glorified creek, but it's big. At this point, they're convinced that this thing is dead. They wiped it out. It's over. They got one of them at least, right? They head down. They start to go ahead, back down the river. They get to where this tributary heads back into the Jalangi. As they get toward that spot, literally, there's a huge fork right there. Something hits their boat, and they all go flying into the water. What they see one of their guys, one of the Sikhs that's with them. He's climbing onto the top of the boat. It's capsized at this point. When I asked Karush about the size of the boat, he just said it fit about 4 or 5 people. It was about twice the size of one of their normal fishing boats, which I asked him about that. How big is that? He said about 8 feet. So it would have been about 15-foot boat, right? 16. Mm-hmm. Big boat. This thing knocked it over because it fit 4 men in a machine gun, right? The guns are in the water. These men are helpless. His grandfather, Karush, he swims back to shore. He gets to the shore, and he's like, he's got his pistol. He's like, it still fires, and he's like, that's all we got. Shh, we're screwed. They see this guy on the boat. He can't swim. Didn't tell people that, right? 2 of the other guys get there. One of the guys never came up, and they never saw him again. The guy that was on the boat that was like, help, help, help. They just see this tiger go over the top of him, grab him by the back of his head, and pull it backwards to his head is like touching his back, and then yanks him into the water. I asked him, I said, did your grandfather say whether he saw a bullet hole? He goes, there was no wound on this thing. They know that it was a tiger. They don't know what kind or what. Was it the same tiger, though? That's the question I had, and I can't answer that, and neither could Karush. But if this thing came up out of the water and grabbed this guy, and the other 2 that were involved in this is one that got, one of them got shot, obviously, and he sunk into the water, which is weird, too.
Yeah.
And then the other 2 went off into the woods. Did they double back somehow and one of them come out? Because after this, they were seeing 3 tigers again in the village of Paja. At this point, there were less than 50 people left, and he tells them, hey, he gets all of his people, and they go to the neighboring village of Jahi, and that's it. Paja is closed down. Nobody goes there except for one crazy old man. Years later, in 1952, they go back. They're walking through. There's some wood choppers, and they hear a man singing. And he's just singing gibberish. He's whatever. And they go, and this guy is covering his head with dirt, and he's all nutty and crazy. And he puts on a mask. The mask was like this demon, like this thing they call there's different terms for it, the Rakshasa or the Raktash. And he's wearing this demon mask, and he's lifting it up, and he's screaming, sticking his tongue out. And they're like, this man's crazy. And they told him, they're like, this area is full of tigers. You shouldn't be here. And he says, really? Really? He goes, like my son. Crazy, huh? Like my son. You people, you killed my son. You drove me from your village, blah, 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 blah. And this guy starts talking, and they realize, they were like, this is Jamar's dad.
Oh.
He's still alive. He said, the tigers, I'll show you a tiger. This guy literally flips backwards and starts to walk backwards like a spider. And where his crotch should be, a tiger's head pops out. And then he starts to flip around and turn like a transformer. These guys take off running. They are terrified, and they run in all different directions. And two of them head back to, Jai. One of them goes into the woods. They hear a scream. This is 1952. Karush's grandfather hears about this. He's living in Sahi. He goes with a contingent of soldiers. This group of soldiers is actually a team of tiger killers. They have killed over 30 tigers at this point, and they use these elephants. They go to the village, the former village of Paja, which no longer exists, and they are like looking for this guy, and they're like, hey, where is he? They find some dirty clothes, some bloody clothes, and they find the remnants of people who had been being killed in the wilderness because they thought it was over, because in 1947, in the summer of 1947, this guy, Crush's grandfather, had gone in and found a den with 3 tigers living in it. And what they did was they lit a fire and they put a boulder and for a big rock, they rolled it in front of it, and they could hear the tigers roaring and blah, 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 blah.
Smoked them out.
And they asphyxiated. When they rolled the boulder away, they sent one very scared, but also very brave man in there to check. And he says, hey, he turns around. It's all good. While he's standing there at the mouth of it, something grabs him, pulls him in, and they hear, So they go in there, they open fire because now they know where they're at. They're all right there. And they said these things were moving around like people, not like 4-legged animals. And they shot into these people. But
What does that mean?
what they did,
What does that mean? Like, were they 2-legged?
I'm not even going to answer that, dude. No, dude, they had 8 legs like a spider. I said people, right? Okay. So they start firing into this whatever that looks like people moving around in there, right? When they're done, they had put so many bullets into this. But one of the things they did was these bullets, they fired as close as they could because we all know silver doesn't tumble, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they did. They said they had done a lot of trial and error, and they used salt and they used silver. The shotgun shells they used were loaded with rock salt. Blessed. Right? Supposedly blessed. And just to make sure, they had it blessed by 3 different priests, by Brahmin priests, by Catholic priests, and Muslim clerics. Then they used a combination of silver and alloy, and they shot into this whatever. When they go in there, there's not tigers laying there. There are people. There are 3 men. And get this. This is the weirdest part of the whole thing, which has just really blew my mind. They all 3 were Jamar. Yeah. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, Karush, when he told me that part, I was like, what do you mean they were all this guy? He goes, yep, they were all him. It was all him. They found the remains of his mother in the back. She had been wrapped in like cloth and laid to rest and was basically mummified from the back of the cave. These were all Jamar because, as it turns out, Jamar had 2 brothers. Yeah. So he was not
triplets.
dead. There were 3 of them. And people began to put 2 and 2 together. They were like, wait a minute. Sometimes Jamar is in Jahai, sometimes he's in Sia, and sometimes he's here in Paja. How could this be? That began people's suspicions that he was able to travel, like teleport. Then they started saying this guy was into black magic. That part was true because the witch doctor in the village of Jai took an interest in him because they came as refugees from a war. And he took one of them as his son and he raised him. He raised him out in the jungle, and everybody wondered because these people couldn't afford to take care of these kids, and one of them lived in Said. They only knew Jamar. They didn't realize there were 3 of them. And they were like, how did this guy live in the jungle and never get eaten by a tiger? Because he was demonic. The tigers, the real tigers, avoided this dude. The spirits, I believe, that came out of the water, those creatures, it's a whole nother thing. They can shapeshift and they can do this and they can do that, but they can be summoned. One of the stories, and there were a bunch of different stories, one of the stories I got from Bangladesh that Karush referred me to, he said there's a story from Bangladesh where these guys were fishing and this tiger came out and it attacked their boat. They got really pissed off. Now, these guys didn't just go, oh, okay, we're going to let, they went back out there to kill this son of a gun. And when they saw the tiger, or at least a tiger, drinking on the banks of the river, they decided, which I think was the Padma, it was the Padma River, they decided to take a shot at this thing. And when they did, it stood up on its hind legs and jumped into the water, diving like a man. When they saw it come across the river towards them, by the time it got to the shore, it looked like a fish turning into a merman looking creature.
So it was shape-shifting as it was swimming.
It was shape-shifting while it was swimming. That was not a tiger. That was not a fish. That was some kind of something. So there you go. So that's what he referred me to, and I thought about that, and I thought this is probably what we're dealing with here, because people discredit things that come from faraway lands, and they don't realize that these people are dealing with shit just like you are.
Mm-hmm.
A guy that's in Iowa, and I say Iowa because, there's a guy that sent me a story recently right outside of Des Moines. And he says, dude, I lived in a haunted house not 3 miles from the city. You could see the lights from the city from my house. And meanwhile, I'm being attacked and drug out of my bed by a demonic winged creature. He's like, this thing would get in through the attic. I don't know how. And I said, because it's not a physical body, While that's going on, you have people in India being attacked by these supernatural beings. You have people in Italy attacked by whatever, what's happening there. Look at what happened on the podcast. There are things going on all around this world, folks. And we only get a little bit, There are stories everywhere you look. Now imagine if I hadn't mentioned what I saw that day at the Circle K. Now, of course, that's 3 a.m. Remember, Anthony, I told you. I came out and I was like, dude, there's a ghost in there. I told you.
Mm-hmm.
I said, there's something in it. There's a man on the wing of this plane.
Mm-hmm.
I just said, there's something in that bathroom. And you said it too. You said it was like kind of creepy in there, dude. You're like, yeah, it's really creepy. It's like, you feel like something's in there with you.
Yeah.
And I feel bad, that Thomas has to work there. And it's the other guy that works there. This is funny. He's a big guy. He's about 6'6". He's a big dude, man. So I was talking to him and he was just like, yeah, I've just started. I haven't had anything happen. I'm like, really? About a week later, I come in and he goes, hey, he was outside vaping. He goes inside to help me. He goes, hey. He's like, okay, so I listened to your podcast. He goes, dude, I saw something in the restroom. And I was like, oh, okay. So you too. He goes, yeah, I thought you and Thomas were just yanking my chain. He goes, nah, dude. So I look and the restroom's open. Like the door's open. He goes, I'll leave it open because I'll hear something bang on it. And I'm like, the point is that if you hadn't stopped to say, hey, then I would never have met, these people. I mean, Jarash is a really good dude. He doesn't have all these stories about his grandfather with the tigers and all that. And this wasn't Karush's only experience. This is his grandfather's experience and then his dad when he was a little boy. But Karush had some other stories. I mean, he saw this gargoyle thing one time. That was right here in Austin. That wasn't even in India. But, Jarash had some wild stuff that happened to him. And that was in India. And so I got to get back to that guy's encounters. And we traded stories. Like I told him about the Danish guy, the dentist. who went to India. That was in Eastern India or in Western India, but he had that thing crawl through the window or whatever. But or no, I'm sorry, it wasn't in. It was in West Bengal or whatever. It was the same area, but it was near Calcutta. So he was out there, and he was It's crazy, when you stop and you talk to these people, and you would never give them a second thought, But if people would talk to people, and if you really want to do this and bring people information and knowledge, and bring people the encounters, or get people on your show, whatever it is that you do. It's a lot of work. It really is. It takes a lot of work. These two can tell you. I'm always there at my desk doing stuff.
Yeah. Always hustling.
Sounds bad to say always hustling, but I admitted it in Barb when she was on the show on Friday. Like, I got kicked out of Bigfoot groups because I was stalking people. I'm like, I'm not stalking them because I want to know about their personal life. I want to know about their story. Because if I hadn't stalked people in the groups, as they claim, we wouldn't be able to know all these things. Not this story tonight, but if I don't hustle, you don't get the information, and we don't learn anything. We can't put two and two together. So now the question is, if anybody has any questions, ask in the comment section. You're free to ask and chat. What are we dealing with here, gentlemen? I mean, are these the souls of dead medicine men, or people practicing magic, or is it these people, these beings coming out of the water, or is it a combination of all three? Were some of these tigers just regular tigers, or were these beings able to shapeshift into tigers? And if they were, were they able to summon other tigers to attack? And why, if they shot one of these things and it sunk, why did this thing go back? I mean, why was it still alive? I mean, and why was there one that was bigger than the others?
Yeah.
That's a weird question too.
Like an alpha or something.
Mm-hmm.
But they're solitary.
One of the things that Karush told me was he's like, one way to know if one of these things is because the people in that region, they're so used to it that if there's more than one, they believe it's black magic.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, though, that Jamar had brothers, and one of them lived in one village, one lived in another. The one that lived in Jahai, though, stayed out in the woods, and he had lived in this cave and been reared in that cave. The reason they know that is because he kidnapped a young girl and took her back and did horrible things with her and then let her go. But then she looks back and she's being chased by a tiger. And he told her that he could shapeshift. When they went out there to look, there was nobody there. The cave was empty. And they said, "You're lying. This is a bullshit story." Now, woman's older and has kids and all kinds of stuff. And one of her children had been unalived by these creatures. And she's like, I told you that there was a guy that looked like Jamar from the neighboring village that lived out there. And nobody believed her. These creatures, I believe, they play on ignorance. And like Jesus always says, I always quote him all the time. He says, "We die for lack of knowledge." What does that mean? We die for lack of knowledge. It means literally your ignorance will get you killed. And there is a cult around ignorance. They love it. They worship it. Stupid, dumb crap that doesn't amount to a hill of shit. And our young people, I watched a video last night about I'm not even going to say the rapper's name, but the Astro World tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
These young people over there just, thousands and thousands of these young people, and they were crushed to death because of this goofy guy up there. You're going like, look at how many people show up to watch this person do this.
Yeah.
To just spit out stupid
Just
things.
hop around.
And he's hopping around, and everybody. And then after it happens, he's like, "Oh yeah, I was really sad. I wish that wouldn't have happened. I'll see you at the next gig." I mean, and you can't say it's all his fault. I mean, the company he works for does that. Thank you, Jason, for that. At least we got a few people that like us. Slaving over a hot microphone, serving up stories like hotcakes. Come on. I did a lot of work on this, I was blown away by some of the stuff I read. And what's even crazier is I got some connections now from that region, people who lived there that he said, hey, talk to this person and talk to this person. And I'm like, okay. So I'm waiting to hear back from a woman that her name is Janesh that, that's interesting. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
She saw one of these things and it attacked her friend. Her friend lived, but she said it wasn't an ordinary animal. That's all she said. There's not been a lot of correspondence there, but I'm hoping there will be. But I mean, what do you guys think?
Well, people are really quick to dismiss like stories from like third world countries or developing countries as like, oh, these are just simple-minded people and they're superstitious. But I mean, I think a good amount of like what we consider a myth or a superstition or like a more simple people's attempt to explain the world around them through like these fictional characters and stories. Like, I don't believe that. I think that they describe what they actually see and what they actually experience. And it's not just like stories from third world countries. Ancient mythology and folklore too. Like, I think not all of it is real. To a degree, obviously, some of it is going to be allegory and metaphorical. But for the most part, I think that it's more of a history than it is like a mythological explanation for the world. I don't believe that.
Yeah, I think they're more grounded, kind of similar to how like a noble or like the king compared to like a peasant. Like the peasant would have a better understanding of how the street was going or what's going on in that. So like for them, because they don't live such a luxurious lifestyle,
because they're
they're
right
not
there in the
as
thick of it.
distracted
Yeah.
from it, so that they have a better understanding of it, and they also have a longer understanding of it. So I it definitely is curious about like what the relationship is with like a regular tiger and what these things are. And I was thinking back about what you said earlier about how it's regional animals, and isn't it that the skinwalker lore is that you have to wear the pelt of the animal in
That's
order
part
to,
of it. Yeah, they take
so
the
that would
animal's
make
pelt.
sense that like you could only really do regional animals then.
Yeah.
So, but I'm just really curious about what gives them the ability to either control or influence these, regular tigers, because
Because I mean, like I said before, not to interrupt, but to interject, I believe that like I said, to plead the blood of Jesus over our pets.
Mhm.
I think this is the same thing. They can possess these animals.
I'm just curious if it has something to do with the fact that they're solitary and that it makes them more susceptible.
No, I don't think so. It could, yeah, maybe. I mean, because people, they say not to sleep alone in a
Yeah,
house.
that's what I was thinking.
And it says that in many holy books, but you're not supposed to do it. I mean, we're told that, But I think that they could possess lions too. But then again, though, the ghosts in the darkness, they were young male lions that were split off from their pride. They had been driven off by the alpha,
Mhm.
and then they went off and started killing and eating people. And people don't realize this, but a lot of the people they killed weren't just Africans. They were killing Indian people too, because they were there to work on the railroad for the British. So, there was a scene in The Ghost in the Darkness where Val Kilmer's character, I forgot his name. I read the book too. John, he's an Irishman. John, I guess I'll look it up.
Somebody in the chat will pipe up.
They did. Wear lions and wear hyenas, huh?
It's John. Let's see. John Henry. John Henry Patterson.
Yeah. John Henry Patterson. Okay, so he's the one that wrote the book, The Ghost in the Darkness, and I've read it. And it's just, what's crazy about it is he hires these guys from India that are hunters that had supposedly dealt with tigers before, and then they get in there behind a cage and they're so scared they can't, because these lions, and they tell them, they're like, these aren't normal animals. These aren't, you know. But that happens in India too. These people, they'll go out and they'll hunt. One of the things that happened in this encounter story, I forgot about this part. There was a group of hunters that gone out on with their, you know, their elephants, and they went out there to find that guy that was the dad of Jamar. It was crazy. He was a shapeshifter too.
Mhm.
If it is to be believed what those wood choppers told him. When they go out there, this tiger leaps onto one of these elephants' back, which usually they can't get up that high, and it knocks the guy down. And then the elephant turns and stomps on his head, and the tiger just leaves the guy and just runs into the woods. They go behind it, shooting at it and whatever, and then it begins to jump from tree to tree, doing this sideways thing along the trails. That's not normal tiger behavior. But those elephants were spooked, and then they started stampeding and running in different directions, and you know, they were getting, you know, knocking people over, and two of the soldiers were killed, one by a bullet of their own guys, and another by an elephant that crushed his ribs.
Sure.
And then the tiger, they blamed the tiger for knocking the guy down that was crushed by his skull was crushed by the elephant. But so altogether, 3 people were killed that day, you know, from Sae. But you got to realize, I mean, it was the tiger that did it. He caused the chaos. And, you know, these tigers only fear those elephants for their size. They don't give a shit. But you can imagine if it's a person with the physical ability. But you got to remember what we know. What we know here at PRT is that person has the other.
Yeah.
The other is a demonic being that attaches itself to them. And Lawrence says super intelligent, definitely not an animal. Lawrence, I agree.
And these things were covered in black goo once they came
Well,
out of water.
one of them was. We
Yeah.
don't know. We don't know for sure if that's the same thing.
Mhm.
But that might have been a shapeshifter water spirit, but they believe that these are water spirits, right? What if it's like this? What if the water spirit is summoned? They take over, that the other attaches, then it gives you the ability to shapeshift like it does. That the other can, that thing comes out of the water. That's not a human. That thing can imitate animals and people, right?
Mhm.
But if you were to bring it in, like you were to do a spell or something, right? And you brought it in and it became a part of you, then it gives you the ability to shapeshift. Now it's taking that ability from somewhere, right? Now this entity probably has other entities that it associates with. They're kind of like a little gang, you know, and it sends it to influence or to possess a real tiger, right?
Mhm.
Now, in this series of encounters, at the end, we realized that they had to move hell and high water to kill these guys, and they were brothers. They were triplets. Now, what's even more interesting about this is that there were 3 children that had originally gone to the village, and one of the elders, this older lady, her husband was once the village elder of Jahi. She says, I remember when they first came, there were 3 boys and a girl. The girl disappeared. She was killed by a tiger like the first week they were there. And the parents didn't seem to be sad about it.
Mm.
What if that little girl was a sacrifice to
Yeah.
these creatures to get them to come and do what they wanted to do? And then there was one boy who was bigger than the other 2. The other 2 looked like twins. And the bigger boy, the parents said, was Jamar. He was the oldest. But he appeared to be quite bigger, a lot bigger than the other 2. And they all looked alike. But according to Jamar's grandmother, who was there at the very beginning, and then she passed away. Another thing too, Jamar's mother and grandmother were gypsy people,
Mhm.
not necessarily Indian the same way. They spoke Bengali, but they don't really have the same blood. Coming from West India, and a lot of them come from Gujarat. So you could assume maybe it was Gujarat or maybe somewhere else. There are some in Nepal too. and in Bangladesh, most in the north, but gypsies spread out everywhere. And so if that is the truth, she said that the oldest, Jamar, was actually a year older than the other two, and the other two were twins.
Mhm.
This is the word of one of the elders that was told to Karash's grandfather and his grandmother. And his grandmother actually told him a lot of this. And Karash is older than me. He's in his 60s. But one of the things he said, though, and this was interesting. Well, he's not in his 60s. He's 60, but I was like 10 years older than me. I'm like, he's old, man. I'm only 10 years younger than him. Oh my gosh. What the heck? What happened?
Where am I?
Where am I? You start to realize your age. You're just like, yeah, that old guy, Karash. Not calling you old, Karash. I'm 50, bro. I turned 50 in like, what, an hour and a half?
You immediately start walking with a hunch, shuffling your feet.
Karash calls me, you are a bad man. You mock my age. I take all my stories back. Oh, too late. I already told him. He don't even talk like that. He talks he has a very deep voice, actually. But he sounds like? He sounds kind of like Lyle Blackburn if he was Indian. No, I'm not even joking. Like when he talks, he's kind of like that. And I'm like listening to him. I'm like, kind of sound like a friend of mine.
Lyle Black Biryani.
Soft,
Lyle Black Biryani.
Yeah.
But it's weird because whenever we were talking and he tells me, he says, look, man, there's a lot of different variables here. If that woman is correct in what she told my grandmother and my grandmother told my grandfather, and then she died after the first year they were there, they were refugees. But what if they weren't refugees? What if they just came in with the refugees like so many people do?
Mm-hmm.
This is not a knock on immigrants, but you gotta be careful with who you bring into your land.
Oh, yeah.
Because these people brought a lot of destruction and death to these people. I mean, it was bad. And so 150 people, man, I mean, over the course of several years, but by the time it was over, I mean, good grief, dude. I don't know. But when you stop and you look at this story, I mean, it's crazy because like, okay, what if that bigger one was a year older than the other two? Well, why was he so much bigger? But they all looked alike. I mean, exactly alike. Cloning, you're like, I don't know. It's a weird thing, man. It's a really weird thing. And I don't have all the answers.
And the fact that like just by being killed by one, you become one. I mean,
The bahoot.
yeah. But I mean, like I agree with you. I don't think that you become one because you're angry that you weren't protected by it.
I think that's just their way of trying to explain
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like a curse that takes hold of you if you have like, certain spiritual openings or spiritual vulnerabilities. Then you're susceptible to that. Because like I don't think that by default everyone across the board who gets unalived by one of these things is immediately going to become one of those. And
Jarash was the one that told me when we talked. He was the one that told me, that they believe in that is what happens. And like I said, I mean, it's a weird thing. And he introduced me to Bangladeshi people that could tell me. I used to talk to Zane had a friend, Sam, that was Bangladesh, and his dad. Me and him remember his dad? He was real nice.
Mm-hmm.
I used to he used to work at the Toyota dealership.
Yeah,
Sam. But his dad, this is one of my nephew Zane's, Anthony's cousin. This my nephew, brother's son. He had a really good friend named Sam, and he was Bangladeshi. And we started talking one day about the tigers and lions and things like that, because we were talking about wolves and what I had seen, and he was really interested in that. And his dad was outside one day. He'd always walk with his hands behind his back, to check the mail or whatever. Very polite. He would go like this. So me and him were talking one day, and he spoke good English, and we hit it off, and he would always speak to me. And I told him, I said, we were talking about the wolves or whatever. He said that in his country, werewolves in the north in particular, that area, are very common. People see these wolf-headed creatures.
Mm-hmm.
But he said that, and I never got to talk to him again. I don't know what Sam's doing these days, but I remember him saying something about tiger attacks and how common it was. But Jarash told me that they believe that it's, he was the one who told me that. And then I asked Karash, and Karash, reaffirmed it. Said, yeah, they believe that it's because they're angry because they were unalived by tigers. But why would you go out and start helping the animal that killed you,
Yeah.
and then be angry at the humans? They didn't do it.
I think they
What's
just
up,
end
babe?
up
How you doing?
trapped in that position. Like they don't have a choice.
Unless the creature, and get this, I'm going to go out on a limb here. What if the animal that killed you is one of these demonic shapeshifter beings? Now, we already talked about how that could happen, right? They attack you, they kill you. You're not right with God. You're not a Christian. You're not, but I'm not just being a Christian, but really truly being saved by the blood of Christ and actually being a child of God. So what ends up happening? They end up becoming, in purgatorial state, controlled by a demonic entity. Because if you die and you're not in Christ, whatever, it's your fair game. Your soul is fair game. So then you become trapped by this creature, and then in order to sustain yourself, you live off of its scraps, i.e., the blood. But they also become kind of like vampires, and they'll drop down out of trees and attack people. The bagh bahoot, and I think it's spelled Bego. You can look it up. Make sure I know what I'm talking about here. Bhoot. And bagh is the name for tiger. Which, like I said, I made a joke about it going bagh, But I mean, it's bagh bahoot or bagh boot, depending on who you talk to. Now, Koresh and Jarash both pronounce it differently, but they're from two different places. Did you look it up?
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
Let me see.
Yeah, that's the word for tiger.
Yeah, and it's basically a ghost.
It's funny. It's pronounced
Here it is
exactly.
right here. The bagh boot refers to a type of ghost or spirit in Bengali folklore, specifically associated with the Sundarbans. These apparitions are believed to be the restless spirits of people who died. My eyes are burning. People who died tragically, often by tiger attacks. Now it says often. That doesn't mean necessarily that's all that they are. If it says often, in the Sundarbans mangrove forest, the term bagh is derived from the Bengali word bagh, which means tiger. Okay. I'm going to need you to not be a demonic, ghoulish, vampiric entity, if that's okay. Right? I'm going to need you to take it down just a notch. Not be so bloodthirsty. That's all I'm asking. We got a press conference about it. Trump's like, it's been brought to my attention that there is a big old booty over there in India, a big booty. I don't know, something about a butt, but they're coming out and they're drinking the blood of people. This isn't cool. This is not sanitary at all, folks. This is very, very bad. If you're going to come out with a big butt and drink blood, who are you, Cardi B? I mean, you got to stop, folks. Don't do this. This is horrible. This is horrible. And then on top of it, they're turning into, wildcats, tigers. What is going on here? So I have decided that I'm not just going to go after Iran. I'm going to go after that part of India, and we're going to destroy the whole region. And then when we're done, we're going to build a high-rise casino there. Yeah, we're going to build a high-rise casino. The natives are going to love me because I've made them a lot of money. And then we're going to bring the big old boots, and they're going to be on display like zoo animals. It's going to be awesome. Kind of like a Sundarbans. Am I saying it right? Sundarban, like a Disneyland. It's going to be very beautiful. We're going to drain the swamp, and we're going to bring in thousands and thousands of pounds of dirt from other parts of the world, probably Africa. I like Africa. It's got a lot of resources, and we're just gonna put it there, and then we're gonna put all of these people that were living in these thatched huts so they don't get eaten by the crocodiles. We're sending them to Alcatraz, and then they're all going to live in these high rises. Now, to them, a high rise is 2 stories. So let's be honest. So it's just 2-story house, really, and the bottom floor is really just water. I mean, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, it'll be a wonderful thing. Any other questions? No, I think we've figured it out. The big old boot has got to go. But let's be honest. How many people in this community? Where else are you going to hear about this? And where else are you going to hear Trump give a press conference for it? You're not. You're not. That's the point. And some people are like, thank God. And those people are naysayers.
We say nay.
So anyways, folks, unfortunately, I got to run. I hate it, but I got to jump on. I'm going to do a quick
Rumble.
because things got to happen. We got to talk about some things. So anyways, folks, thank you for tuning in to Paranormal Roundtable. Like I said, you make what this show is. Even though we only got like 500 people in here today, we usually get more, but they didn't want to hear about the demonic tiger tags. They missed out. You know why? Because you can never get a headline that just really gets everybody, and then because you don't put certain keywords in there, and they miss out. They're like, I don't want to watch that one. That's about tigers. No. Go and tag everyone. Spread the word, as my enemies would say, and let people know. Let them know what this is about. What the Paranormal Roundtable is where it's at. Who cares about the haters? They're going to be there. They're going to say vile, hateful crap because that's what they do. And the more we're over the target, the more flack we're going to get. So we'll see you later. Good night.
There's no place for old men, a breed going extinct, as the youth coddles each other, and love appears to be in the air. Breeze singing and trees living, a time of generations dying. The sea is full, yet so many are falling. Born to die in neglect with their unaging intellect. To ages to be forgotten, the world is promised to the young. I will travel to eternity where age cannot go. I shall transcend this life so bold. How age makes a man invisible. He wanders alone, tattered as his clothes. Forgotten soul finds song in his heart. Monuments of magnificent, the seas have taken me to Byzantium. To ages to be forgotten, the world is promised to the young. I will travel to eternity where age cannot go. I shall transcend this life so bold. Sages standing in holy fire, spiraling as the masters of my soul sing. Desire overwhelming, don't deny but consume my heart. I know not what it is. Take me to eternity and unknown things. To ages to be forgotten, the world is promised to the young. I will travel to eternity where age cannot go, and I shall transcend this life so once free from this body, I'll never come back again. Not to this place I'll be where goldsmiths work, to entertain the lords and of Byzantium. It matters not what is the past, or what is passing, or is to come. To age is to be forgotten. The world is promised to the young. I will travel to eternity where age cannot go, and I shall transcend this life. So